You're listening to the Empowered Divorce Podcast, where you practice being the chooser in your life again, one day at a time. Thanks for joining me. Hello, my amazing listeners. How are you? Thank you so much for joining me today. I see the rising podcast numbers, and it just makes me so grateful that I can share hope and empowerment with so many who have experienced the devastation of betrayal, abuse, and divorce. Please help me reach more women who feel alone in this journey, who are feeling confused, who need support, who maybe are even beating themselves up because they don't understand why they can't just be amicable or why they can't just co-parent, right? All the things that you all are learning. I really want to help more women who don't have this kind of language to what they're experiencing, get that support, get that language. So follow the podcast, leave a review, tell those you know who are going through this to follow and build our community of support. Thank you to those of you who are and have shared your experiences with the podcast. It is just so awesome. I never, ever thought that I would be where I'm at over a decade later. I really did believe that my life was never going to be as joyful. I figured I would have good moments. Mainly because of my four amazing kids, but to have joy, to have love, to create my life, to be able to do things that never thought I would do again, try things I never thought I would try. I wrote that off, honestly, for a good chunk of time. I never believed that I would have the courage to even speak my story, that I would be free enough from the worry and the fear of what certain people in my past would even think about me sharing my story and helping others go through this. I never imagined that I would like who I am or even know who I am again. I just remember feeling so lost. Like, I don't even know who I am anymore, didn't recognize myself. So much has changed in my life. And I remember begging God to just let me get through the next hour. I do this podcast and what I do professionally because I want you to know that it is possible. I swear I do not have anything that y'all don't have within you to step into your courage and put one foot in front of the other and start being the chooser in your life. There were a ton of bumps. Sometimes there still are. And as I've learned from those bumps and those bruises, I want to share with you what I've learned professionally and what I know today to hopefully help ease your bumps along the way. One of those bumps along the way that I want to validate today is when you find yourself missing your ex, but you don't want them back, and it can be really confusing, right? Maybe you framed it a little bit different, but I've heard my clients say this, and I'm just like, gosh, I just want to validate when you are in this weird space. Maybe it's right after you've separated or pretty soon through the divorce or after the divorce, but there's often this period of time where a lot of people experience. I've heard different variations to this, like missing your ex. And I believe that there is a somewhat of a normalcy to this in the normal world of divorce. But this ex that has caused you such dire pain and literally uprooted your life, your dreams, shredded all parts of you with their lies, their abuse, or betrayal, you might be wondering, why in the hell am I missing him? First, I just want to say that you're not crazy, you're not messed up, or whatever your brain's offering you there. I do think there's lots of reasons why this might be coming up for you if you can relate to this. You may have these moments where you are at one of your children's events. Even if you are sitting on either side of the auditorium, there might be this part of you that misses sitting together in these events, even if it's just for your kids. I remember my oldest son at the graduation, literally separate sides of the auditorium. I never even saw my ex. He texted my son. My son met him over at a certain part of the building, talked with him, and then came back to us. Like, just what my child has to go through to accommodate this the distance, right? Or the restraining order or whatever that is sad. And it makes you kind of miss the times when that wasn't a thing for your kid. Maybe this missing is really missing the family as a unit. Divorce from betrayal wasn't your choice. You didn't choose to destroy the family unit, even if you chose to divorce, right? So your dream of the family unit, your trauma of believing that you were a family and would still be, that was shattered. Sometimes so suddenly, the shock hasn't even worn off yet. So here you are sitting there at these events and in shock and missing the memory of what you believed you had and would have. So you miss the dream. Or you're at home and you're wondering how in the hell are you going to fix the leak that you just now found underneath the kitchen sink? The kids all need to be at practice or youth group. You have a teen begging you to drive because they need driving hours. And oh, by the way, mom, I need you to make cookies for my friend's birthday tomorrow. And you just realized that you haven't even peed and you had to go 3 hours ago. And damn, the sink smells. Like you miss the second pair of hands, maybe. You miss help. I mean, even though I seriously was like a single parent 99% of the time, anyways, in my marriage, there is something about knowing that you really are on your own that makes you miss the idea of a second pair of hands. Maybe that's what we're really missing. Maybe you're at your family's house and all of your siblings and their spouses are there and you love your siblings, but damn, you don't have a person now. You miss having a person because you thought you did. You believed you chose a person forever. And then one day, that person is not the person that you thought they were. So you miss having a person. Or maybe you're out for a walk and you're enjoying your time and you pass a couple holding hands and you miss holding hands. You miss the hand on your back as you were led through the door. Or you wish you had that if you never did. Now you see couples everywhere, and it's like, what the heck is that all about? Because ever since you divorced, now all you see is couples walking around holding hands and being affectionate. It's like they all decided to come out and walk by you being affectionate and holding hands to remind you that you're single, right? You miss maybe walking next to someone and you miss holding their hand. You miss having someone reach for your hand. Or your child does something hilarious. Like you can't even believe what you just saw or what you just heard. You look to the side of you and there's no one to witness this hilarious thing and you laugh alone. So maybe you're missing laughing with someone that thinks your kid is the funniest kid in the room too. Or your child is having a really hard time and they're struggling with their own growing pains that life brings. And you try your best to comfort your child or discipline or teach and hold the pain that only a parent can hold for their child. But you're curled up in your closet alone as you bear the pain alone. So maybe you're missing the support as you raise a child. Whether you ever had it or not, the reality that you don't hits hard and you feel as if the floor is just going to swallow you up. So perhaps you don't really miss him, but you miss the him that you thought you had, the him that should have been, the him that you fought for, prayed for, and begged to be. You might miss a lot of things, but you don't want him back. And so, yeah, really confusing. So, what do? First, have self compassion. Be curious as to what it is you're actually missing. Most often, it's missing the idea of something rather than what you actually had. And isn't that the confusing part? It's like, well, I miss having someone to share the dreams with. But the reality is that someone was secretly effing up those dreams. Or you miss having someone provide, but secretly that person was spending the family money on addiction and affairs. So acknowledge what you're missing and validate that. Of course, you believed that you had someone healthy, or at least tried to believe it. Validate that you're now recognizing what healthy should have looked like and that you're recognizing you're longing for healthy. The other part to this might be that you're missing the parts that were good, right? The parts that were sweet, even though you may now know what was really happening, they were sweet for you. You get to own all of those sweet memories that you created with your thoughts, with your feelings, and with your actions. Those get to stay close with you. You earned them. You loved well. You can love those good times. You can love that you created that as an agent unto yourself. There's an odd grief that comes when you have a life-saving divorce because, again, you don't want that person back, but you may find yourself grieving the memory that you imagined you'd have or you thought you had. Watching my second grandchild enter the world brought the most joy I could ever imagine. I never imagined how incredibly amazing that experience would be. I would hear women older than me who were grandmas, and they would say, "Oh, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it." And I just would hold on to their words, right? But man, till you've experienced, there's nothing like it. It is incredible. And the joy of my granddaughter, who's 2, and she is spunky, and she's running up to me and jumping in my arms and saying, "Mimic, mimic." We don't know where that came from, by the way. That is what my grandma name is. It is Mimic, and I will answer to anything. But to hear her in her cute little voice say Mimic, Mimic, and wrap her arms around me, there's nothing like it. And even though Scott is the most amazing grandfather ever and absolutely adores his grandkids, actually, our granddaughter literally gushes over him. Like when we FaceTime her, she'll say, "Hi, Mimic, Papa. Where's Papa?" Like she just wants Papa all the time. So that's amazing and it's beautiful and it's so fun. All of that considered, I grieve the memory that I imagined decades before of my daughter's father being there, but he's not safe to be in our lives. It's the most confusing thing sometimes to the system and to the brain because as he's not, and not even welcome, but the idea of what should have been hangs in the air all around and everyone is breathing it in. So you breathe it in, you acknowledge it, you validate it, you grieve it, and you let it go. It does get easier. The pain isn't as intense. The reframe comes quicker. The gratitude is seen a little bit easier. But in the meantime, be patient with yourself. Don't judge yourself. And no, it doesn't mean that you want to go back to a betrayer or abuser or that you made the wrong choice if you're the one that chose divorce. It means you had dreams. It means that you know what healthy should have looked like. It means that you value connection and support and know what you deserve. You want it, and that's beautiful because you can have it when you are ready to choose it. I hope that you feel validated today. I hope that you feel some self-compassion. I know this wasn't a very long one, but I hope you feel hope. It's weird. It's confusing when you miss all of these things. It might not always mean that you miss him exactly. When on the other side of it, you're like, yeah, I don't ever want to go back. So identify the things that you're missing, validate it, and grieve it. It is an important part of your healing journey to grieve these things that you do miss. And it's okay to miss it. Remember that you really are the chooser in your life. And even when you choose to feel grief, it is a choice and it heals you because it really can. Take care, everybody. Hey, if you haven't checked out my Believing in You membership, then I am going to just encourage you to head on over to amiewoolsey.com and click on Believing in You. When you are a member, you get so much access to me. You get so much access to materials, tools, and concepts to help you become more aware. Remember my 3 pillars of healing: awareness, acceptance, and then agency? We need to be aware first before we can change anything, before we can change our belief, before we can do what we really want to do. We have to be aware of what we're actually currently doing. And sometimes, in fact, most of the time, we can't see into our own human brains, which is where I come in and where being part of a safe group coaching environment also helps you become even more aware. I call it double coaching. You get so much information about what's going on in your own human brain through this membership. I was telling my own therapist just a couple weeks ago, oh my gosh, there are so many layers to healing. Even myself, after decade of doing my own work, there are layers, people. That's why I say there's no arrival. Not to discourage you, but to let you know that we always get opportunities to see into ourselves and to become more aware of how we're showing up and how we might want to change our results. I also tried to make this membership where you get the most access, the most information, and the most resources for as little as possible. If you still want to work with me one-on-one, if you want to do brain spotting, you get discounts to all of those one-on-one sessions. If you're a member, that is also a bonus. And in the next few weeks, we're going to start a deep dive into the 8 characteristics of the higher self, really taking each one of those characteristics every week to deep dive and learn how to cultivate that for yourself. Because every week in our sessions, I teach you something new. I teach you a new tool, a new concept. And you can use that to help practice. You're always learning something, always growing. I know that has been a really big part of my healing, is just adopting that growth mindset. So check it out, amiewoolsey.com, or go over to the show notes. Believing in You membership. You can join anytime. There are afternoon and evening spots available. Take care, everybody.
I was born to fly and spread these wings and find my own. I am coming home. Today will be the day it all will change. Nothing, no one's in my way. Today will be the day. Today will be the day. I was made to dream that anything can be my own. I have found my home. Today will be the day it all will change. Nothing, no one's in my way. Today will be the day.